People are labeling you as reformasi hero. Is that what you have always been gunning for? To be identified as a hero?
First of all, I'm not hero. There's nothing heroic in whatever I was doing. The real heroes are the masses. When I say we need informed, we need critical society, it means that we must always open for change. And the system that we want to build is as open as possible, so that when things happen, when society change, we are fast enough to suit ourselves, right? Many of our previous law, which we seen as repressive, I mean, whatever we say about ISA, there were justification to say ISA used because they were, we have a situation of facing armed insurgent, we are facing a Cold War, etc., etc. But situation has changed. Today we have other form of laws to protect people from violence, but we don't need ISA anymore.
But what do you make of POCA?
Yeah, POCA also come out in the aftermath of September 11, because there was a threat of global terrorism. Today, I think situation changed. We must review, we must look towards it. But before we change the law, at least we must ensure that the people who are using the law, the tools, should not abuse it.
Essentially, you're still a social activist, right?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about ISA, we're talking about POCA, and we're talking about the extent of its use, right?
Yeah.
So what is needed to actually have a complete overhaul of...
The complication is this. When we have some of this law that has given certain convenience to our law enforcement, our enforcement has very much dependent on this sweeping law to protect, to allow them to do work, right? We have not invested sufficient into other form of investigation, right? So, I mean, for example, we have not invest enough equipment. We have not invest enough for surveillance on criminal element. So all these things need to come together, right? If we now go to the police force and say we're going to take away all this power from you, then they will say, then what do we do? You know, they are anxious, and they were also worried that if the societies that they're supposed to protect fail to do the work, the society also
they have a
blame
duty.
them. Yeah, they also blame them. So there is a balance between the demand for respecting human rights, and also there is the law enforcement feeling that they need certain tools so that they can, do their duty to protect the society. A reform requires first, both sides are comfortable with the situation, and we need a lot more discussion and dialogue so that we can move forward together. That's why social activists must also start to learn how do we engage law enforcement body, which previously are not allowed. We created a confrontational relation, right? Whenever social activists want to gather, law enforcement was instructed by politicians to say, go and crack down, go and arrest them, go and stop the demonstration. Today, when I say there is an opportunity for reform, we are not expecting overnight change. We also require time for those people who used to be hostile at each other to be comfortable with each other. Then I think some change will happen.
Well, since we talked about all those like confrontations and stuff like that, and you're not a stranger to all these confrontations, so we have a few photos here, right? Maybe you want to take us through one of the most, I suppose, popular moments. What went through your mind, and what was this incident, I suppose, first? What was the situation?
Well, that was a long time ago. As I said before, previously, gathering is totally not allowed. Any gathering that have more than 4 persons is being perceived as a threat. It was the beginning of the mass awareness that this country need change. The very case of the trial of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, sort of represent that. It represents that people need to voice out, and when they voice out in expressing solidarity, they were faced with very violent reaction. So I think that's the era that we were facing, and we struggle and speak out against such violence towards peaceful demonstrator. We hope this change is permanent. We hope there will be no reversal and to go back to those days. And I hope that younger generation will never need to face tear gas and what's that called, and repressions and violence when they exercise their constitutional rights to assemble, to speak out, and to have different opinion with the authorities.
So motivations behind contesting as an independent. If you want to just address one last time, maybe this is the place to do so.
Yeah, it's based on the last, not this last, because the GE14, where unexpectedly I was blocked off from contesting, even though I fulfilled all the rights to contest. In the effort to ensure that the seats did not fall into our opponent, Barisan Nasional, I have to endorse candidates that nobody know at that time. So, and I promised the voters that once I can contest, I'll come back. This election, to me, is to fulfill the promise that I had
from the previous
one, that once I can contest, I should come back to contest. Unfortunately, whatever reason, I don't want to question the power of the party, that they did not select me, and I feel that it's going to put me in a very difficult situation where I already promised to my voters.
But did you ever tell them in advance that you will be contesting as an independent?
Yeah, I informed the leadership that I will. I don't expect the party leaders who say, yeah, go ahead. I don't expect that. So I expect that I have to be responsible for my action, and I already said that I'm prepared to accept the action of the party.
The headlines play that you weren't very happy with how the disciplinary committee had informed you of your sacking.
That's actually a small point, but then to me there must be certain, although I have violated discipline, but they should also have some respect. In normal circumstances, in whatever situation, you inform the person about what is the decision, and before break to the media.
So you're saying they broke to the media first?
Yeah, I have to respond to the media on the revelation by the discipline chairperson. So I have to write a formal statement the next day. So that's why I expressed that this is a bit unprofessional. But of course, I expressed that it's a party that I have founded. I have been associated for more than 2 decades. Definitely, I would be sad the party take action on me.
Do you see that there's divisions with PKR?
Democracy is a very noisy business. If everything is silent, if every party just take one direction, agree to one leaders, then we should scratch our head and say, is it really democracy? A well-managed fractional competition is a healthy thing, right? So, but all political players or whatever faction leaders should try to behave as professional as possible, as ethical as possible. But more importantly, I would say that despite disagreement, despite our rivalry, I hope that political leaders also treat each other with respect and as comrade. Ultimately, I believe that whatever disagreement among us, the intention is for the good for the country. you.